Welcome, everybody, to another wonderful AI presentation. It's AI 101 Introduction to AI for Students. And we have an amazing presenter today, Alexandra. She goes by Alex Amasteka. And she really knows her stuff on AI. And she's going to let you know if you don't know anything about AI, she is going to introduce you to it today. Welcome, Alex.
Hello. Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction, Jana. Welcome, everybody. We are super excited and happy to have you here today. Hi, Karen. Hi, Karen, Hanuma, Sung, John, George, Ha, Paloma, Jaji, Aurora, Ebony, Nathan. The list is long today. Thank you, guys. I'm really happy that you're here. We're going to go over our session, AI 101. This is a very basic as I can. This is a safe space. So if you know nothing after today, you're going to know something, okay? That is going to hopefully aid you within the context of your academic activities to think and consider AI as you are progressing through your academic path, okay? So I want you to know that I am grounded in policy, right? So what I'm saying is coming from my experience working as a librarian for ACC for now 9 years, but in context of AI, this has been only going on for 3. So I'm going to share my screen, right? Have your phones ready around a certain part, right? Because there is a QR code that you're gonna scan towards the end, okay? Um, and feel free to drop questions in the chat. At some points in the presentation, I will stop and say, hey, does anybody have any questions or comments about this? Try to keep them short so that we can go through the agenda for the day, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. You should be seeing our blue eagle for Houston City College. Thank you, Jana. And let me switch to my presentation. Just in case you're wondering, my presentation is set up in Canva, okay? And if you want me to share the template, I will be happy to do so. So welcome to Artificial Intelligence 101. Pretty basic, no fear. As of right now, there are a lot of products in the markets. There are a lot of bots. Some people love to use Gemini, Claude, or Perplexity. You're seeing Copilot integrated into what you are doing with Microsoft. There's also Meta trying things on the other side, Mistral. So there's been this explosion, right, of products that we can use in different platforms. Some have a freemium version, right? They give you a little bit for free, and then they give you a little something else that you could pay. The examples that I have for you today are going to be everything's based on ChatGPT. Why? Because that's the one that is one of the most popular that we get a lot of questions about. And there is a free tier that you can use to experiment. I do encourage you that as you are going through the process of experimenting with AI, try different ones, okay? Play around with it. And, and I also recommend that you create a separate account from your main, let's say, email account so that you can use it as a testing account for different things. This should apply for a lot of different things. So don't just use your main account for everything, because as you go through the years in your life, you're going to see that your account's going to start getting inundated with a lot of different things, okay? So remember, I'm focusing on ChatGPT today, and we can always talk about other services. So what is it that I'm going to cover? We're going to be looking a little bit of artificial intelligence, what is large language models and generative AI. We're going to talk about some vocabulary that you should have, things that you need to watch out for, and one of the most asked questions that we receive about prompts, how to write a prompt for this, how to do that. And then we're also going to cover some ethical aspects of this topic. So when I'm talking about vocabulary and in the context of this, when I talk about a large language model, what I want you to know is that overall, a large language model is a system that is trained with text, to predict, let's say, the next word, the focus on text. But when I'm talking about generative AI, what I'm talking is about a system that will produce additional context like images, sound, code. So there's a lot of things. Overall, people usually use the letters AI to blanket and put everything on over that, right? But there's different levels. So sometimes you're gonna see the word LLM, the letters, or JI. In regards to the next two, prompt and output, those are two ideas that you need to keep in mind. So the prompt is the instruction that you're going to give AI, and the output is what you're going to get out of it. Okay, so remember that you are going to create a prompt, and from that prompt you're going to generate an output. Any questions about that? Drop a question in the chat if you have a question. If you don't, give me a yes. All good to go. Thumbs up. Thank you.
We have somebody raising their hand.
Huma, go ahead.
Huma, do you have a question?
Actually, I was saying, okay, I think I clicked the wrong, hand. It was a prompt. Go ahead. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. No, that's fine. Okay, so far we covered that. So remember that when you hear people talking about prompts and what are we gonna do with it, is that's what you're going to write. Okay. And then the output is what you're going to get as the response to your prompt. And this is very important because depending on what you place in the system is what you're going to get out. That's why you hear some people talking about, oh, you're training the system. Okay. So the system does learn from you as you are going through. All right. Let me go back to sharing my screen. So what are some of the things that you have to watch out when you are dealing with different platforms and different generators? You need to watch out for bias. That refers to information that could be in the system that you are not aware of. And maybe even the people that place it in there will not know about it, right? It goes to the way things are coded, opinions. So watch out for the output and think about it from terms of what perspective is this output giving me, okay? In terms of hallucinations, by now everybody should have heard that the GPTs can produce things that are not true. Because it hallucinates, and there's something new out there too, that it comes to providing pitfalls, and I have to deal in, work with that too. So there's the opportunity for this element, because remember, this is predicting text, right? To predict things that are not true, not real at all. And remember, you're not dealing with a human on the other side. You're dealing with a machine that is making some, computational operations, right? One thing that is important for everybody to watch out for is your privacy. Remember, when you upload data with your prompts or with documents into the system, you are giving the system material to use. So you want to preserve your privacy. Don't put your name, no address, no personal documents. Do not do that. And if you go online on YouTube, sometimes you can hear some people saying, oh, I uploaded my medical records and I got a, recommendation from the GPT to take some medical advice. I would not advise you to do that. If in terms of, things like your health and your finances, please consult with a live human professional. Do not upload documents and privacy things into the large language models. Protect yourself. When it comes to plagiarism, you're going to hear a lot of complaints about how individuals use AI to generate content and then take credit without giving credit to either the AI or the source. So watch out for how is it that you're using artificial intelligence to generate content, and how is it that you are documenting your use of content. Okay. In the context of ACC, and you're going to hear in my documents everywhere, I say this a lot. Your guiding individual, the person that is going to tell you how you can use AI in the context of a class, is going to be your professor. Your professor can say you're not allowed to use it. Your professor can say you're allowed to use it for maybe checking grammar, no more than that. Maybe you are able to use it for brainstorming ideas, and then that's it. Or maybe they say they even could get to the point where they allow you to generate content for a course, right? So I work with professors that are across the spectrum, and we respect their academic freedom and their pedagogical practices. So we follow what our professors say in terms of this is how you're going to integrate that. Okay. And then the last point, which is over reliance, is one that is really important for you to consider in terms of how much are you, willing to use AI to the point where you kind of stop thinking. That is very worrisome right now, because just as people will tell you that the amount of time that you spend looking at your phone screen will affect um, the way that you think, or your attention span, over relying on artificial intelligence to produce content can also lead to a diminishing rate of your ability to think critically and independently. All right. um that part of the over reliance is super super important for you to considering. So let me see so far the questions that we have. Gerardo is asking, is gaining a prompt engineering certificate or certification still worth it? As I have heard that the AI already does not necessitate one. Well, that's an excellent question. So any type of academic credential that you can get from, let's say, an institution like Houston City College, is something that is going to be reflected on your professional resume and your profile, right? So what happens is that when you compete in the market, your credential from, let's say, ACC is telling the institution that you went through, like whoever wants to hire you, that you went through a process of getting information, knowledge, and developing your skills in that area. So when we give you a credential, we're saying this person went through that experience, right? Now, if some people don't get the credential, right, and they just, well, I know about AI and I learned it all by myself, there's no backing up from no institution verifying that, right? So in the context of our economy, that's why credentialing is so important, because whoever you get your credentials from will help you uh, testify in front of another entity that you have certain sort of knowledge that has been validated by another party. Um, so my recommendation is that you always try to get academic credentials in an area. So if you can get a certificate, and we do have certificates on ACC in artificial intelligence, but they go more into the computational side, right? That's the thing. For prompting, I haven't seen a certificate yet, but you will see that a lot of people that are working in the computer area, because of their experience in computers and working with programming language, they rely a lot on that, right? Having said that, that doesn't mean that maybe at a certain point in the future you will see maybe a an approach to using AI, or from more, like, let's say, the philosophy department. That could happen, and from my perspective, it could happen sooner than people think. Or maybe the English department, right? So who knows? So Gerardo, did that make sense? Because the argument sometimes against education is that you don't need one to be successful in society. But statistically speaking, studies have demonstrated that people with degrees earn higher income. Let me see. Oh, excellent question. So Gerardo is asking you, how about a certificate from Google by Coursera app? The one from Google, it counts towards something, right? As long as you meet the requirements, and that will usually, sometimes they even give you badges, right? But it's not the same weight as getting, let's say, a certificate from ACC. It's different. It's a different type of credentialing. That's a great question. Because you have credentialing through badging for some institutions, and you also have credentialing through, maybe a little short certificate that you can take. So sometimes if you want to really consider, well, what is it that authorizes ACC to give me a certificate? It's because we are accredited by an organization. We're accredited by SACSO. And then they say, oh, ACC can grant this degree, right? And it's not only us. All institutions of higher education in the United States get those credentials, okay? Any other questions? Great points. Thank you, Gerardo. Great points to bring up. Okay, so remember that this over-reliance can be a pitfall, right? So watch out for the bias, the hallucination, protect your privacy, engage in, ethical use, avoid plagiarizing, and don't overthink. And one thing that I want to emphasize is this. When you are using AI, you're going to see that it tends to flatten language. You put some prompts in there and you get an output. And if you compare it to your friends, you're going to see that everybody's getting about the same. So AI, depending on what you put in, has the capacity of kind of making everything sound similar. And in that process, you can lose your voice, your syntax, the way that you construct your sentence, or the way that you're thinking, right? So I always want you to keep that in mind, because your voice and the way that you think and the way that you construct your ideas is unique to you. And that has value. Your creativity has value. Your lived experience has value, right? So sometimes in the quest of knowledge, you might think, oh, what I know or my experience is not enough. No, it is. And not only that, you can develop it further, right, through your studies. So consider that. So I'm going to go back to our presentation and be ready, because I'm going to need your help in a couple of moments, okay? Through some typing that you're going to do on your end. So here we go. So let's talk about those prompts and what is it that you need to learn when you're prompting, right? So you have all those large language models available. You know that I'm grounded in doing an example with ChatGPT for free. And there's a lot of different ways of prompting, but I'm going to encourage you to try two. One is a conversation style, and the other one is a structure style, okay? So when you engage in the conversation style, what you're doing is like going back and forth, like you were talking to a person, which you're not, right? You're interacting with a machine, and you're going to start a conversation. Very simple. And this is pretty good if you've never done it, so that you can test and push the limits, okay? So that you don't need to feel like you need to write a whole paragraph. When we're talking about structured prompting, what we're talking is about writing detailed instructions before you even begin. And in that way, you set parameters, okay? So one is kind of like casual, and the other one is like, oh, I'm going to go all in with a super lengthy instruction like outline, so that I can, force the GPT to go in a certain direction. So when we are talking about conversations and prompts, I want you to maybe consider three things. You're going to ask, then you're going to improve, and at the end, maybe magnify, right? And this is in alignment with ways of thinking about how we do some processes, right? We start with something simple, and then perhaps we add more details after we do an analysis. And then towards the end, after we've done that analysis, perhaps you're going to assess that output critique it, evaluate it, and then maybe even bring it a little bit more. Okay, so those are some ideas that you can keep in mind. And in this conversation approach, I'm thinking about something that you guys we should research at some point. It's called Bloom's taxonomy, and it talks about how can you perform different activities at higher levels, right? So remembering something is like a basic level, whereas maybe synthesizing something at the end is complex, right? So keep that idea in your mind. Now, when we talk about a structured prompt, what I'm talking is about you sitting down and writing very detailed instructions where you tell the element you're going to give it a role, we're going to give it a goal, you're going to give maybe some step-by-step instructions, you're going to ask for something in a certain format, you're going to put constraints, you're going to personalize it, and maybe you can even talk about quality, okay? So, in this approach, sometimes I'm taking this from Ethan Mollick. He wrote a really good book about it, and he has that structured way of doing things. So what I want you to do now is we're gonna practice some prompts, and I want you to give me a prompt. Okay, so we're gonna take like maybe 3 minutes. Don't think that you have to do a lot. Put a prompt. Let's do a basic prompt. Okay, ask, improve. So give me a basic prompt for the GPT. Put it in the chat, and then we'll do a structured one. I'm going to wait to see, and I'm going to go with probably the first two that I see. And then, of course, we're sharing, so then you see what other people put there. And it could be as simple as a question. It could be maybe a little bit more involved. Oh my, okay.
That's funny.
Okay, so on the chat, we have a really interesting prompt about AI suggesting lottery numbers. We're going to try that. And then we also have another prompt for drafting an email to my director regarding time off. And then somebody else has a 2-week notice. Okay, wow. So apparently this group is winning the lottery. This is where we're headed. And then we are going to go on vacation. So I'm going to start with our first prompt, right?
Oh, these are great.
You guys are amazing. Okay. Give me a moment because I have so many windows open here. Okay, here we go. I'm using the ChatGPT version that is free at the free level, all right? So okay, so notice what's happening. It's laughing like kind of like, ooh, the numbers are completely random for so there's no way for the GPT or anyone to do that, right? But they can generate some lucky numbers for fun. So sure. And then let's take this in a little bit of a different level. Let's see what happens. Now I'm just playing. Okay. So there are some lucky numbers, totally random, apparently, with a bonus number of 11. And then because I wanted a little bit more of history, right? I put that there. But I have to say something, right? And hold on here 1 second. Let me copy this for the record. Miss Shamika is claiming those numbers. I just dropped them in the chat to document. If I don't even want to think that by some random probability those numbers come true, but it's okay. So if you notice, I went into the ChatGPT and I asked for the numbers, and we learned, oh, I can't give you the numbers, they're random, right? But then it says it can suggest. Sure, go ahead and suggest. And then I asked for history, right? Now I want you guys to tell me, are those facts or data letters that came on the screen, is that true? Did I get that from a verifiable source? Yes or no? No. Joy's saying no. Karen's giving me a big no. Shamika said, yep, everybody's saying no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, thank you. No, it's not. You might be wondering, well, where did the GPT get that from? Well, the GPT compiles information from certain time periods into a data set. And remember, it's predicting language. So in that data set, there's a lot of words that have to do with a lot of different things. And it's predicting how that might be. Now I can go back and say, can you show me the sources for these for these statements? Let's try that. Let's see what happens. Now you got to take it a little bit more, right? So now I'm asking for sources for those statements, and notice what it's doing, right? Now it's giving a table, and now you can see that it got it from the Texas Lottery website, got it from Wikipedia. This is where we start getting in trouble. KPRC, the Chronicle, right? And the Texas Lottery. Okay, so one thing that is very important for you as you're going through the process is not to trust the information. You have to ask for sources, and then you have to go verify those sources. Okay, do not trust blindly on what the output is giving you, right? And then in terms of plagiarism, don't copy that and paste it as your own, your own words, because it's not, right? And it has a very precise way of delivering the information. So I could go on and go on a conversation. This conversation about the lottery could go in a lot of different ways, okay? I'm going to go roll up, and there was a question about drafting an email to the director, okay, for vacation, for time off. I'm going to say vacation if that's okay, because I like that word. Here we go. So in this case, I'm going to start a new chat, right? And I'm going to prompt and I'm going to give a little bit more instructions. And then I'm going to do something even a little bit further. Let's see if I don't know if it will give this output. So as we wait for the analysis, I do want you to see that there's other GPTs here. In the free version, you're not gonna see that much. I'm gonna click download the time off request because you can prompt a GPT, some of them, to produce an output for you. Let's see what we got. Okay. So this is the document that the system produced for us. I hope this message finds you in great spirits, or maybe with a coffee in hand. I wanted to give you a quick heads up and officially request a bit of time off. I've been working hard to keep things running smoothly, and I think a short recharge will help me return with even more energy, or maybe fewer bad puns in our meetings. I like to take these days, of course, I'll make sure everything is squared away before stepping out, and I'll ensure smooth handoff so nothing falls through the cracks. If you like, I can also leave behind a guide to my sense of humor, so I can promise it will be very helpful. Thank you so much for understanding, and I appreciate your support in making this happen. Very kind of funny, right? So you can play around and select a different output. So now we pasted that content, and here it is, the short version. I am requesting time off. I'll ensure tasks are completely unresponsible and are properly handled off to my absence. Please let me know if you need any adjustments, okay? So you saw there like a quick interaction in which we're asking for like a tone. We ask for length of like words, right? In terms of the length of the email. We also then took the content and brought it down. Oh, that's a great point. So Armish says that ChatGPT can contradict itself. So not only sometimes those contradictions are called like a degradation. So when you start running a GPT for a long time, sometimes you can see that the answers become more and more and more nonsensical. That's when we are talking about those hallucinations, right? So you have to be careful about that. And in this case, yeah, it's kind of like a contradiction. We went from an email that had a certain tone, and then we got a completely different output. So keep that in mind. You guys gave great inspiration for prompts. And we could go on and on. You saw the prompt, how to generate a document, and notice I only asked for Word, right? You could ask for an Excel output too. I've done that one. And of course, there's other modes for generating images. Try your microphone. Huh? Try it again. Play with your volume. See if that comes out, okay? So that was a little bit of a back and forth, very short, with ChatGPT in terms of thinking about having a conversation, okay? Now let's talk about the structure. And yes, you can leave and come back again. Let's talk about the structure approach. In the structure approach, that's where you give it a role, where you start giving more instructions, and usually you write a lengthy paragraph, okay? So I want you on the chat to drop an idea. I'm going to ask for a couple of things, okay? So give me a role for a person that's maybe you're going to ask a question. So give me a role. What do you want the person to be? And then I'm going to take notes on this side, okay? Do you want them to be a teacher? Do you want them to be... Who is this person going to be? Let's see. A librarian. Okay, so we have a librarian. That's the role. What is this librarian going to do? I think I'm getting in trouble. Let's see. What are they aspiring to? A president, a cop, an accountant. Okay, a barista, a singer. Okay. Oh, let's go with the singer. This singer What is the sender going to do? Maybe they need to write a song. If it's a song, what is it going to be about? Give me a topic for the song. Okay, we're going with the heart. Okay, immediately. So we're gonna have a singer. Okay, we are going to have a singer. We're gonna have a singer that's gonna be in recovery. We're gonna ask for a handout. Give me just 1 second. Okay, so I wrote something a little bit longer, and we're gonna see what's gonna happen. But by no means is this like an ideal exceptional prompt, okay? We will have to do that again, and we'll probably follow up after this session with the ideas that you guys suggested. So we're gonna add a new chat, okay? That was pretty fast. A song of happiness, bright enough. Reminder, melancholy has beauty, but happiness has healing. Let your music hold both, okay? You saw how fast that went, okay? And I combined some of the elements that you have. One thing that I am not, doing right now here, because we are going with examples, is I am not uploading documents, right? So if you have sources that you would like to include, let's say that you find a guy to, maybe deal with heartbreak, right? That is something that you could consider. I will say this, for any type of health related, either physical or mental, right? Support that you might need, please make sure that you're consulting with a real doctor, right? And remember, ACC has counseling and supporting services that can always help us in dealing with things for the heart, right? So if anybody is having a heartbreak right now, much love for you and support. And remember to look for help here at ACC. Okay. So when it comes to that prompt, you can even go even further, right? In giving even more details as you go down, and really being very specific. If it's for an app programmer, right? You could say, please, and especially in the context of a resume, you could prompt the AI to write a resume considering certain elements, and then you can prompt and you could put examples of work history, okay? For the AI to generate something for you. And then if you want that resume in the output, you could prompt to get that document out, right? If you wanted to experiment with different things in prompting, that is okay. Okay, you don't need to feel like you need to start with the perfect prompts, right? Or that you need to write a lot. The thing is that you need to start using the elements in a way that is in alignment with class. And then some of you may have some personal questions that you may want to use the element for going back and forth. So let me go back to our presentation. Here we go. So we talked a little bit about that conversation prompt and that structure prompt, right? And when it comes to how to learn, Remember, one of the other things that you can also do is ask the LLM, like, how is it that I can use it? Because there's no better probably outside source than the same system to tell you this is the instructions that I come with, and this is what you can do. And then other sources will tell you, well, these are the things that you need to watch out for. And in that context, when we're talking about ethical use, I want to highlight that your instructors, like I said at the beginning, they are your guiding compass about how to use AI in a course. If your professors say no, don't do it, because we are going to get in trouble. And it's happened. Sometimes we have students that are trying to use it, and then, oh, the professor's not never going to know. Oh no, they're going to find out. Trust me. They are automated systems that are now catching AI use in writing, right? And then there's also your style. And then if you can use it, you must cite it. Okay. And this is one of the questions that we get a lot. So how do I cite AI? You are going to cite AI depending on the style. If you are using APA style on the screen, you are seeing in the blue square an example of a text from the APA website, right? In parentheses, you can see that reference to the APA citation. And in your references page, this is how you place the reference entry. If you're using MLA, it's a little bit different, right? It looks this way as works cited says at the bottom, but then in parentheses, you're putting, right, the start of your prompt. Very unique. So MLA, you place the start of your prompt, whereas in APA, you're placing the author, which would be OpenAI. Okay. Completely different approaches to doing things in both styles. Now, one question that we are receiving sometimes has to do with copyright, and what can be copyrighted. So according to the US Copyright Office, prompts are not enough to say that you are an author, right? So those are ideas that cannot be protected. This is important to keep in mind. But you can protect the selection, the coordination, arrangement, and the modification of the content. So this is an issue that came out as you know, AI has been progressing in the field, and a couple of years ago, you had some debates about artists that have won awards with their work when they were just using AI to generate images. So in simple terms, you can you can copyright parts but not the prompt, so keep that in mind. And this is a great area that is developing. So if you are interested in copyright of images or copyrights of songs, I highly recommend that you go look at different types of services for AI and then read through the policies. That's something that we don't do a lot, right? Kind of like you get your terms of services, but you don't read. You have to investigate, okay, what is behind the policies for the particular service that I am aligning myself with. Okay, that's super important. So then let me share my screen again. Now I want you to scan the QR code on the screen.
Excuse me, I don't have my phone right now because my phone is broke.
It's okay,
So
dear.
I don't know what to do.
Okay, no worries. If you have your phone, scan your QR code. I'll put it back up in a minute. Now, if you don't have a way to scan, click on the link that I dropped on the chat, okay?
Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you. Are you guys able to see on your end the page?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So the page, thank you so much. The page that I just shared with you, if you scan, you're landing on a page, right, where you have the content of this presentation in a flyer for you to make reference in the future. And then at the bottom, there are additional resources that you can check in terms of how to prompt, which is very important. And in addition, you have direct links to APA, MLA, and the citation guides from the library. Let me see. Okay, thank you so much for confirming that you were able to see that. This is permanent. I'm not think I'm going to change the content in here, okay? And if you're wondering how I made this resources page, it was made in Adobe Express, okay? That's something that at some point, maybe down the line, we'll have another activity. So, questions at this time. I'm gonna quiet here for a moment. What questions do you have? Let me see. No questions?
Shamika has her hand raised.
Jamika.
Hello. I just wanted to say it's good to see your face. And you too, Jana. I just wanted to say Jana sends out things through Yammer all the time, and I was like, I'm gonna pop in on this one. And this is one of the best intros I have had to AI. It's just the right amount of information, and you were really great. So coming from a trainer, I appreciate you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you so much. You certainly help us a lot with the challenge of that lottery.
Yeah.
It's going down in history, so it's greatly appreciated. Mhm. Oh, okay. We have Huma has a really good question. She's saying, why is it that teachers don't allow the use of AI? I am scared of it. Okay, thank you so much for your question. Okay, from my experience working with teachers, what we as a teacher sometimes are afraid ourselves, right? Is that when you just use AI and you do not study, you do not read the book, you do not perform the exercises, you do not engage in class, and you do not gain original work, you are not developing yourself as an educated individual. You are just putting that content out there and walking away, and you don't care. So the lack of caring, like academically, you don't care when you just let the AI do the thing for you because you just want to get the grade and walk away. So there's no intellectual development. So how do we know that you're learning? Now, that may sound super simple. Let's bring it up a next level. Do you think that you would like to go to a doctor that has learned to do everything with AI? Say it on the chat. Yes or no? If you're not, yes. Would you like to go to like a professional, somebody that is saying, no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to go to somebody that is faking that they know. So that's the importance of you knowing. So it's not the same, for example, like let's say your professor is an expert, because they are, right? Your professor, maybe your biology professor is an expert in the field. Dr. Biology, we're going to call them, right? And Dr. Biology has done a lot of research, studying, experiments. So they have an ample body of knowledge in the field. And they are using AI. What is the difference there? The doctor has acquired their knowledge and their expertise through their studies, and they are able to evaluate. So that point of how is it that you develop your expertise is very important. So you must strike a balance between how are you developing yourself as a practitioner in your field or maybe a future expert, and then how you use these tools to improve your learning process, not to overshadow it. And that's one of the greatest fears that we're seeing. Okay. And then what's on the line is your expertise and your credibility. So we don't want that happening for you. So that's why the ethical practices, the citations, the knowing what you're prompting is very important. Yeah, no blood on the test. And then I can, yes, you can imagine the doctor giving you, no, we don't want to see that. And then we'll take care of that trend in terms of the attendance. So that's why. Now, in terms of being scared, I do want to address that. Look, there's no room for fear. You don't need to be afraid because the ChatGPT is not going to come out of the computer to get you. You know what I mean? There's no monsters here. You are dealing with a machine, and you are going to treat your transactions in a professional, respectful way. Because remember, what you feed into that system will come back to you. So don't, and there are also terms of services that you need to be very conscious of, because there's been questions, because of course I had to push boundaries. There was a question that I asked to ChatGPT very early on about the dark web. It refused to answer it. I was like, okay, there's places that we're not going to go. So just as you don't go a dark alley in the middle of the night, right, at 3 a.m. in the morning, don't, watch out for the behavior that you have with these systems, because what you give to the system might return. So be safe, be practical, be ethical, right? And conduct yourself in an academic way that you will feel proud of, right? Because you are reflecting your personality as a developing scholar or professional in your field. Great questions. Okay. Any other questions? Pain points. Thank you for sharing that about fear. Don't be afraid. Just try. Okay. Thank you, Ebony. Thank you guys for your examples. On the you kept the session original and great questions too. Remember, HCC has, the AI program. How can I use AI to help me in class without getting in trouble? Oh, okay. That's a good question. So let's say that you perhaps have a, you're welcome. You perhaps have a math question, right? That you need help with. So I'm going to switch here. And this applies to a lot of different subject areas. Sorry. Okay. So when you are interacting with AI, let me see. I have the other mode. This mode is not active in this version. There is a study mode that you can interact with for that. So if we have a question and maybe, okay, let me come up with an example. So I'm going to ask it to help me work with basic equations, okay? In 5 steps. So instead of looking, let's say you need to solve some equations, instead of saying, okay, can you just give me the answer? You seek to understand the process, okay? And then, for example, This is for learning the bones. And then you have some outputs. Now, one thing that I will mention about this that is very important for everybody to remember is this. We don't know where this information is coming from, okay? So one thing that is really neat to do when you are trying to study with this is that you get an output, but you also get a book or you get a verified online website, right? Because I can take you to the National Library of Medicine to look at bones. And then I can tell you, oh, look at my source from the National Library of Medicine. And it has this content that is verified by experts. And then in a way, you can come back and then you can evaluate if the output of the GPT is true. And in that process, when you are doing the evaluation of what's coming out and comparing it to a real source that you know who the author is, that is where the learning happens. Okay? It's in the process of evaluating, in the process of assessment. And later in the semester, we're going to have a session that is going to be that, like challenge the bot, when we are going to go at it and see if what we're getting is for real. What is, we're going to criticize it. Okay. It's going to be fun. So think about that. So just don't take blank output. Make sure you have a source. And then if you ever, please, if you have questions about sources, where can you find something? Visit the library online. We are there almost 24/7. If you chat with us at 3 a.m, we'll get to you next day because nobody's there, but we do record your answers, okay? You also have your tutors at ACC, people that you can work with in the academic success centers to, go through the process of discovering information. So there's a lot of resources for you here waiting for you to come and let us know how we can help you in your road to success, okay? Great questions. Thank you. Jana.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Alex. This was amazing information. It was so beneficial to me and hopefully to everybody who came today. Thank you, guys. I want to thank all of you for coming, and I hope to see you at our future events. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Be safe out there. Be safe with AI too. Take care.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.